You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Hey, welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show. Take it away, Benny J.
All right, that's Peter Janko on horn and Steve Kapitan playing drums.
They're good.
They're good. They're not only Democratic chieftains in DeKalb and the McHenry County, they can play them. All right, Janko, put that horn aside. Let's get down to business. We have on the line with us to broaden the discussion a little bit, the mayor of DeKalb, Mayor Jerry Smith. Are you there, Jerry?
I certainly am. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Welcome to the show. And we're expanding. We were talking straight politics for a while, but now let's do a little a deeper dive into the issue of extending Metra service to DeKalb. This is an important issue for the economic sustainability of the DeKalb area, for good environment, for a lot of reasons, and also may win over a few Democratic voters who agree with it. So, Steve, why don't you start off by giving us some of the basics on this issue?
Well, the west line of the Metra extended to Elburn, which is 15 miles from DeKalb, in January of 2006. Mm-hmm. And at the time they were considering that extension, Metra did look at the possibility of extending to DeKalb, but decided against it at that time.
Now, did they give a reason for not extending it? No.
I don't recall any specific reasons. It's a matter of practicality, population, cost. They ended up building a third track, which was a very expensive process to extend from Geneva to Elburn, and built a rail yard there. Mm-hmm. But with the rail yard that is built there, that would open the possibility, Peter thinks, and I haven't investigated this further myself, that we may not have to have a third rail line between Elburn and DeKalb, which would avoid a huge expense.
So in other words, you have the lines on which the train could run. What you need is a station for it to run to.
Right. The station would be a cost, but not as big as extending the rail line.
All right.
That would be the biggest cost.
That's a different situation than we face here in Chicago, where they want to build a bullet train to O'Hare, so they have no rail to run it on, but they're going to build it anyway. This is our state in action. All right. So to help folks out a little bit, Steve, what's the distance roughly between Elburn and DeKalb? What are we talking about?
About 15 miles.
15 miles. Yeah. All right. And so, Mayor Smith, why is it important for DeKalb that the train be extended, the service be extended, the 15 miles from Elburn to DeKalb?
Well, the real crux of the matter here, Ben, is this. Mm-hmm. It would be convenience. I've been in DeKalb for 57 years. I've been mayor for a little bit over 18 months. I don't know if Metra wants the rail service to come to DeKalb. I don't know if the RTA wants rail service to come to DeKalb. From a political practicality point, if this would even be considered by Metra or by the RTA, we're looking at a situation where we'd have the DeKalb County, which is now not in the Regional Transportation Authority, would have to join. Whether that is a referendum-based situation, I'm not quite sure, but you're talking about additional tax burden for the citizens of the county of DeKalb. So at this point, that 15-mile distance that Steve Kapitan mentioned and that third rail potential, it's there. My wife and I, we drive to Elburn, wonderful parking lot there, hop on the west line. When we hop in, we're the first passengers on that train because to Ogilvie, we have about, 20 stops. And so Elburn, as a 2018 choice for the citizens of DeKalb and DeKalb County, is not terribly inconvenient. Now, would a rail service to DeKalb benefit this community and benefit this county? undoubtedly. Whether or not we can get beyond the cost, the political realities of this situation, Ben, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to see it in my lifetime. Do citizens in the city of DeKalb ask about Metra Rail? All the time. Steve Kapitan, who is one of your guests today, former city alderman here, he probably knows more about this situation, along with Mr. Janko. And I am willing, and I think you'd find most folks, even those on the county board and in the city council of the city of DeKalb, to sit down with anybody, anywhere, anytime, to collaboratively look at this. But I think the first question is, and you might ask your two in-studio guests there, does Metra and does the RTA really, at this point, want to bring that rail service to the city of DeKalb?
All right, that's an excellent question. Not only is he mayor of DeKalb, Jerry Smith, but he would be an excellent talk show host on the radio. So, Steve Kapitan, what's the answer to the question that Mayor Smith just posed? Is Metra willing to be a participant in this endeavor?
Well, that's the $64 million question, as they might say. Well, I would just mention that the enthusiasm that people have for wanting the train is out there and has been out there for some time. This morning, I picked up a cup of coffee leaving work. We have a Starbucks in our building, and I asked the two baristas on how they felt about the train coming out to DeKalb, and they didn't just say yes; they were enthusiastic about it. They really said, "Oh, that would really be great." And it would really transform the university community. As you know, NIU is a major employer and presence in DeKalb, and I think it would really benefit. The Convocation Center is right along the rail line as well. You'd have basketball, football, attractions. This is an economic development issue. It's a enrollment issue for the university. It's really would produce a lot of benefit.
You know, I was just about to say you stole the idea right out of my mind. Mayor Smith, the reality is most people in the city of Chicago know that DeKalb is where Northern Illinois is. And a lot of people from the Chicago area attend Northern Illinois. That's their university. And furthermore, once they graduate, they move back to the Chicago area. Maybe they want to go to Northern Illinois. Some of the football games, I don't know if you guys know this, but they've had a pretty good football team over the last 10 years or so. It would make all the sense in the world to connect Northern to Chicago vis-a-vis the Metra. What's Northern Illinois?
With you. I could not argue at all, Ben, with that point of view. And what Steve Kapitan just said is so true. We have interest here. We have folks who would love to see it. But, I'd like Steve to answer the question that I posed in a rhetorical sense, and that is, would Metra support this? Would the RTA support this? And if the answer were even to be yes, which I don't think it may be, are the citizens of DeKalb County willing to, either via referendum or via a tax increase or both, be supportive of this in August of 2018?
That's a great question. So the question is, would the people want to pony up the money, pay the taxes to construct this extension? And Peter Janko, you had your hand in the air. You wanted to answer this. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the first thing is, yes, there's no question that DeKalb County would have to put some skin in the game. But here's the situation. Like right now, we have 6 counties, and they're paying 0.25% in their sales tax for RTA tax. Okay. But here's the other thing to consider is fairness and proportionality. And that's something that nobody's talked about yet. And by that, I mean, if you look at the other counties, okay, some, like McHenry County alone has 6 stations and way more track. I mean, you got to look at DuPage County. I don't even know how many yet because I haven't looked into it yet, but we will. But the idea here is we're asking for service extended on 15 miles of of existing track and 1 train station. So, I mean, what's fair? 0.25% probably wouldn't be fair to the residents of of DeKalb County, but maybe a 10th% is, which represents a penny on a $10 transaction. So I mean, that's like sales tax rounding errors. So again, that might go down a little more easy. And even at a 10%, we're overpaying.
All right. Well, picking up on Mayor Smith's comments, and Steve, I'm going to direct this to you. In the Chicago area, in Cook County, just last year, we talked about this endlessly. When they put the penny tax on soda pop, there was a revolt of sorts, and they had to back off on it. And I think Mayor Smith's question is getting at the heart of something. Would there be political support in DeKalb, among the residents of DeKalb, for a tax that would enable them to extend this service?
Well, we are at the beginning of this most recent effort to find that out. I think the mayor laid out the two basic questions. Are the people in the county, in DeKalb County, willing to put that skin in the game, as Peter mentioned? And what are the parameters that RTA would demand that we meet? Mm-hmm. And that's part of the research that we need to do yet. And we need to make the case if they're going to say, well, you would need a third track. I think they should have to justify whether or not that would be necessary.
Mayor Smith, what about Northern Illinois? Would they jump aboard and be part of an effort to extend this service, in your opinion?
Yeah, if the time is right and the situation presents itself in a way that would make sense for the city of DeKalb and DeKalb County, I think Northern Illinois would, to pardon my pun, but they jump aboard. You know what I mean? This is a situation where everything that can be said in a positive way about why the rail would be terribly convenient for this area is there. And I think Northern would benefit, and Northern, given the opportunity, would say yes. Obviously, I cannot speak for my alma mater, and as Steve alluded to, they're the largest employer in the city of DeKalb. And as Northern goes, in many respects, Ben, DeKalb goes. So I think it would be a tremendous benefit for the city of DeKalb if Metra and the RTA were to run that commuter line out this way.
All right. Now, in just the most general way, I'm going to ask you, all three of you, this question. I don't know if you follow these things nationally. I do. There was a referendum in Tennessee and Nashville about extending their rail service. The Koch brothers actually got involved in it and led the resistance. They voted it down. There's high-speed trail, very controversial plan for high-speed rail from, I believe, San Francisco to Los Angeles in California. Governor Jerry Brown is for it. It's very controversial. The candidates who are running to succeed Brown are sort of all of it. One is the Republicans against it, the Democrats for it. So here's my question. Politically, do you think the country is at a spot where they would want to invest their tax dollars into public transportation, or do you think politically the country is at a part where they wouldn't want to invest their tax dollars in that way? And I'll start with Steve.
Well, that is a question that I'm not ready to assume that I know the answer to. I think that it makes sense to improve rail service across this country. High-speed rail, we are behind the curve compared to so many other countries. I met a graduate student last night who is from Shanghai. And he was working on a project with a fellow student who is from Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. And I asked them about this, and they were aware of it as well, and of the extending the train service to DeKalb. But China has high-speed rail that far exceeds anything that the United States has. And I think it's an embarrassment for the United States to be so far behind the curve. Politicians talk about infrastructure development, but a bold infrastructure development that somebody like Bernie Sanders advocated in 2016 is something that I think would resonate with people.
Jerry, what's your thought? Mayor Smith, what's your thoughts?
Well, I would agree with Steve in most of those respects. Interestingly, in DeKalb, for a county of just over 100,000 people, in the city of DeKalb, 45,000 plus, counting a few students or not counting a few students, Jay or Ben, we have a tremendous public transportation system. We have a bus system that serves the university, serves DeKalb, serves Sycamore, and we're there. The train, absolutely, it would be great to be out here. So public transportation is something that I would fully support. But as the mayor of a small municipality in the state of Illinois, what I want to do is to hear discussion. I want to hear further dialogue as it relates to what taxpayers not only want, but what they're willing to pay for.
Peter, what's your thoughts?
Okay, well, first of all, if Elon Musk has a hole burning in his pocket, maybe he can pay for this. But anyway.
Yeah, I doubt he's going to be paying for it. I don't think he's going to pay for the one in Chicago either.
Yeah, but I mean, instead of sucking money away from the Blue Line and riders and stuff. But anyway, like any movement, okay, I started my first 50 years on the activism side. So the first thing is I got to fire up the people and the voters of DeKalb County to get behind us, okay? If we get public pressure to make this happen, that's how we're going to move this forward. So we're going to have to obviously convince them that it's good for everybody. And as far as the university, I talked to the president's office this morning, and they're fully on board to recycle that joke. So last week, one of the precinct committeemen and I, we actually knocked on just about every agency's door in DeKalb to see what agencies would be behind us. And we didn't catch many of the administrators, but we got from the staff that, yes, this is something that the city of DeKalb wants and needs. Okay, I mean, like right now we've got, DeKalb does have a great transportation system, but the missing link is between DeKalb and Elburn, and that's the reason, I mean, nothing makes more sense than DeKalb having its own transportation system to tie its excellent bus system and transit system into, access to Chicago.
That's Peter Janko, and we're talking about extending the service from Elburn to DeKalb. Mayor Jerry Smith, I'm all aboard it. No, God, I had to use that joke too. Of course, I'm not the guy who's the deciding factor on this one. So it looks like this is just the start of a long discussion. I want to thank you very much, Mayor Smith, for coming on the show. I appreciate it. And
thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll be right back with more discussion with Peter Janko and Steve Kapitan. Stick around, folks.
From the creator of $1 Million Quartet comes the prequel Heartbreak Hotel, the new musical that follows the story of Elvis Presley's skyrocket to fame. Shake, rattle, and roll to Heartbreak Hotel. Now playing at the Broadway Playhouse through September 9th. Visit BroadwayInChicago.com.
Sun's shining, school's out, time for a road trip. This is Ray Lefevre, owner and general manager of McCarthy Ford, and nothing's more fun than a summer road trip with the family. Some of my family's fondest memories are of vacations on the road. You get to see more, be spontaneous, and spend quality time together. But before you head out, make sure your vehicle is road trip ready. Make sure your tires have plenty of tread and have recently been rotated. Get a fresh oil change and have your belts, hoses, and air filters checked. Consider having your AC checked. I don't know about your family, but mine is definitely happier with a cool ride. Gas prices are creeping up again, and we have a lot full of hybrids and fuel-efficient choices. Whatever your destination, McCarthy Ford is here to help make your summer road trip one to remember. Visit our showroom at 115th and South Pulaski Road, or browse our inventory online at mccford.com. That's mccford.com.
On this episode of the world's shortest sitcom by KFC. So what did we learn today, folks? That's right. KFC now has 4 different $20 fill-ups to feed a family of 4. Like my 8-piece extra crispy or 8-piece original recipe. 12-piece tenders or my new 6-piece boneless breast with all the fixins for just $20. Wow, that sure is one reactive audience. Anyways, see you next time. KFC, it's finger licking good. At participating KFCs, prices may vary. Tax and substitutions extra.
WCPT 820, Chicago's liberal news talk station.
Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from Chicago on WCPT 820.
Peter Janko in the studio with me, along with Steve Kapitan. Peter, of course, 14th Congressional Democratic State Central Committeeman, and Steve Kapitan, a political activist in the Democratic Party in DeKalb. Closing thoughts, gentlemen. Start with you, Steve.
Well, I think that we need to engage students when they return to the university to see where this goes, because those students have families back in the Chicago area, which is the biggest draw for NIU's student population. And I think that there's going to be an enthusiastic response for that. And politically, we'll see where that goes. Logistically, we have to work out with Metra what are the parameters we need to meet.
Yeah, I think the students are the key. You're absolutely correct. Peter?
Okay. If you want to get involved in this effort or keep up with it, we started a new Facebook page and group called Metra, #2 DeKalb. The page is only about 3 days old, so it's sparse, but we hope you can join us there. And again, it's Metra, #2 DeKalb. And that's DAKALB.
All right, very good. And listen, I'm a sucker for trains. More train service, the better. But gentlemen, I wasn't kidding when I said there's resistance. For some reason, the Republican Party at this current evolution is against the extension of transportation system. We saw that in Nashville, where they led the resistance on a referendum. And we're seeing that happen right now in the state of California. So I realize even though it makes sense, I found it hard to believe when Peter first brought the issue to me that there already isn't Metra service from Chicago to DeKalb, given the fact that Northern Illinois, Steve, is such a prominent player in with all the graduates it has in the Chicago area. I found it hard to believe that it wasn't already in existence. Right. And so it makes all the sense in the world, and I hope to keep the issue alive and have you gentlemen back to talk about it. And Peter Janko, have you back to talk about all the Democratic issues in your neck of the woods as you try to build a Democratic Party in Republican land. How about that?
Sounds great to me.
All right, very good. Steve, thank you for coming in as well. Appreciate it. Peter Janko, always a friend of the Ben Joravsky Show. He is the State Central Committeeman from the 14th Congressional District, the only State Central Committeeman who did not vote for Michael Madigan. Man's got a lot of guts. That's Peter Janko. We have Rick Stone coming up pretty soon. I think he may be in the studio. Not 100% sure. You never know.
Did you give him the right address?
There's always that issue. And I not only gave him the right address, I said, whatever you do, take Elston Avenue. We'll be right back.